1:01. Let's go.
Sorry.
So good afternoon, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order at 1:01 p.m. on Tuesday, September 16, 2025. I'll turn it over to Laurence to take roll, please.
Directors, if you could please answer when your name comes up and let us know if there's anybody else in your room. Chair.
Present, and no one else is in the room. Thank you.
Vice Chair Miyashiro.
Present, I'm here alone.
Director Bruce.
I'm here alone except for my bird that keeps making a lot of noise.
Director Sims.
Present in the room.
Director Sao.
Present, conference room.
Director Hilton.
Also present, alone here in my office.
Director Walton.
Present, alone in my office.
And Director Lynn.
Present here in the NELHA conference room.
Okay, and I think we're still waiting on two more directors, right?
Yes, Director Molinaro and Kaina.
Then starting with Riley Saito,
Riley Saito in the conference room.
Laurence Bombardier in the conference room,
Faustine Edge, conference room.
all NELHA staff. We'll now be moving to the Zoom call. Perhaps I'll just state the staff that's on the call. Jennifer Rasmussen, Brian Babbitt, Sherry Ortiz, Pam Madden, and Ray. And we also have, that's all NELHA staff, and we have a few guests. Jeff Zimfer, if you would like to identify yourself.
You're on mute if you're speaking and we can't hear you.
Moving.
Hi, I'm muted. This is Jeff Zimfer here.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. Moving to, there are two people with just initials, JWT and SRM. Please let us know if you wish to identify yourselves. And then we have Sarah Carner.
Yes, I'm here remotely.
And finally, last but not least, John Cole.
Hi, everyone, in my office alone.
Thank you. That's it, Chair.
Thank you, Laurence. The first order of business will be to approve the NELHA Board of Directors minutes from August 19th, 2025. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. It's Director Lynn. I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Okay. Is anyone opposed to the passing of the motion? Okay, hearing none, the August 19, 2025 board minutes are hereby approved. The next item on the agenda is public testimony. We will be limiting public testimony to 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone in the room who would like to provide public testimony? Okay. Is there anyone online who would like to provide public testimony? Okay. Laurence, I think we got joined by some other people. So did you want to?
Correct. So Director Molinaro, if you could identify yourself and let us know if anyone's there.
I am in my office by myself, and aloha, everybody.
Aloha,
Thank you.
Aloha, Director Molinaro. Okay. There are no agenda items under old business or new business. So our next agenda item is the fiscal year 2025 report for approval and decision making. Who's presenting on that?
So I will, Chair. This is Laurence. And this item is really just for completeness. Let me start my video. This is really just for completeness. We did present the majority of this data the first 11 months for fiscal year 25. So from July 2024 through May 2025, that was presented last July at the board meeting. So this is really just for completeness. We added another month to the data. And I believe we have one more person who has joined us.
Tom Fee.
Tom Fee has joined us. And so the trends are pretty much the same. There's really nothing that's significantly different from the last presentation. And so the narrative and the detailed data was included in the board packet. I have it up on the screen. Welcome to answer any questions. But as a summary, overall, we had a slight increase in revenue. So the total is 5.4 million thereabouts, and a slight increase on the expenses as well, for a total of 5.48. In fiscal year 25, NELHA paid 674,000, closer to 675,000, approximate to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And we also have these general services that we pay for, and those amounted to 150,000 and 62,000 to DBED. So that's as a summary. I'm happy to go into any specific questions rather than rattle on the narrative as we have done in the past.
Do any of the board members have questions on the 2025 report?
This is Gordon. I just have nothing about the content. Is there a reason we don't put together a P&L and a balance sheet, like a traditional profit and loss and a traditional balance sheet?
So in the past, we haven't. So I guess that would be the main reason. So this would be wrapping up basically until the time that Greg left as executive director. Going forward, I suppose we could change the financials.
Well, I don't want you to do it just on my behalf. It's just I'm so used to looking at businesses, and you typically look at your revenues, your gross profit, your net profit, your percentages, and you've got all the information here that can produce that, and then the balance sheet to show your assets and such. And since NELHA runs like a private business, I'm just wondering if it would behoove us to do that. But again, don't do it just because I'm asking. I don't need to give you more work.
Thank you for that thought. I have coming on the same kind of thought, but in looking at, for example, NELHA's assets, a lot of it, is government purchased over the last 50 years. And whether the rules of, capitalization are not applied to various purchases, grant funded, not grant funded, other things related to just the asset profile of the entity and the depreciation rates, the, general accounting principles that would apply as it would in private industry. I couldn't somehow do that crosswalk with everything that was purchased over the last 50 years. How was it amortized? Was it amortized? Is it somewhere where I could pick up the current valuation of that asset or not to actually start a balance sheet? Versus looking at it as NELHA has a special fund and it's self-funded. And so I believe what was, with Greg and in this reporting format and is to track mainly the balance of the special fund with the related incoming revenues or income of cash, income of grants and other things, other sources of income, and to track the expenses and where and how in operation you're actually come to a profit, or what is the balance of the special fund. And if there were events or circumstances in which there would be an operational increase in expenses and decreases in revenue, the special fund would be shown to be projected as negative. And then that would trigger a whole different type of process of funding assistance from possibly the general fund or the state legislature. And so I believe the way the financials are currently presented and reported is a way that reflects how NELHA operates and will continue to operate within its special fund parameters, so to speak.
Laurent,
I don't
just
that
FYI,
helps.
the graphic is on the 2026 budget. I think we need to scroll down back to the 2025 report, right?
Which one?
Go for it.
Thank you, Riley. Sorry to interrupt you.
On the special fund balance. So we talk about the special fund. You lost it. Yeah.
So the other thing to note is accounting wise, NELHA is on a cash basis. So when we do our financials, it's based on transactions that have actually hit our bank account at the state level, because the state owns the bank, and we have a accounting system within the state that notifies us of our accounts being credited with deposits and our checks being cleared with expenses. And so it is on a cash basis. There's no, technically on the books, there's no accounts receivable, there's no accounts payable. A form of accounts payable that we use is the encumbrances. If we commit a contract to spend funds, like our security contract is 1 year, it's a couple $100,000, and we sign that contract, we'll encumber those funds. And that's what you see on the screen in Appendix C under encumbrances. So it's obligation of cash that NELHA has committed to legally. And so when you look at our cash expenditures, we add in the encumbrances to look at our cash obligations that we have as of June 31st, 2025. And provides a special fund balance. Now that encumbrance, it's presented as one lump sum number, but it would be paid, let's say the 200,000 over 12 months. So in that time, there'll be other, further lease payments and other rents and other income that's comes in. And so it doesn't hit our bank account all at once. The encumbrances do not. Does that help?
Riley, I've got a question on your encumbrances. Do they span the fiscal year boundary sometimes, depending on the term of the contract? Or,
They do.
okay.
They do. And it might be for, say, some research project that we have for offshore deep sea water pipes. Might be $150,000. We signed that contract. It doesn't get paid. It'll get paid over 3 years. But we
You
want to
encumber it all at once, or do you encumber just the current year's scope and then?
we encumber all at once.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is interesting. This discussion is exactly what I wanted to have on the 2026 budget.
I can see where that could cause Director Bruce and some consternation, because then you have cash outflows on your books that aren't matched by where is the money coming from to cover those. And so I can see that makes it difficult for us to fully understand the financial status. So I can understand the concern. Sure.
Well, it's an approach that is extremely conservative. Because we're showing our forward-looking obligations as a current balance, assuming that it's been fully paid as far as the special fund balance. The special fund balance is reduced by the encumbrances. So it's conservative.
Okay.
If we were to, say, cancel the security contract after 6 months, then the encumbrance would clear.
Are you doing accrual or cash?
Cash.
Okay.
And that's the tricky part of.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I asked this is, and I just ran a real quick and simple, I looked at the revenue of 2025 and the expenses for 2025, and I show that we took a loss of 77,000 based on the numbers provided. Now, I realize it's not audited. I realize there's lots of caveats in there, but just looking at it from a purely vanilla, what was provided for 2024 to 2025, we had a loss of 77. Now, I know we had some additional expenses that we didn't expect to have happen during 2025. So I can understand why it shows that. It's just that that's how it comes up when I crunch the numbers.
Correct. And that's based on cash.
Yeah, okay. I don't have anything else. That's fine. Thanks.
I have a question, please, Chair. The percent rent reports are up 40%. Given that this is based on tenant revenues, as I understand it, I would take this to be a really encouraging sign that tenant revenues are up 40%. Is that a fair extrapolation? And can you just give us a little bit more understanding about what is happening there, please?
To get numbers I can read. Yeah, so you're looking at tens of thousands. I would say the percent rent, although it's tied to gross revenue, is not necessarily a one-to-one. So you can have one client that does particularly well, and therefore their percent rent is going to increase. That doesn't mean that overall revenue as a whole for everyone has increased. And you're only looking at, I'm gonna say, a handful of clients, less than that are paying percent rent at this stage. So you're really dependent on a single or two people.
So the denominator is very small.
Right.
For the 42% increase.
Yeah.
And impacting, and as a result of a very, very small number of tenants.
Okay.
With a percent rent obligation.
Sure. Thanks.
But it is a positive.
Do any other board directors have questions on the 2025 financial report? Okay, could I get a motion to please approve the 2025 fiscal year 2025 financial report?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Bruce. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. This one I'm gonna call for, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, hearing none, the motion is hereby passed. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the fiscal year 2026 budget for approval and decision-making. So turning it back over, is this to you, Riley?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So in this presentation, prior to my starting this, just as with what we just went through as a presentation of the year end and of fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2025. And with the state reporting and being a cash basis, there is a unique kind of delay. You can't just accrue expenses and close the books. And so there's lag time that occurs with 30-day, payment terms and things like that. So I needed, an extra month. Normally this would have been done in July with a lot of assumptions and knowledge, which I didn't have, and I wanted to take further time to really analyze and look at how the numbers work. And so what I'd like to do is take this time to present the budget, but in a way of an explanation of some of these key sections and line items that are in our financials. And so I'd like to start with these revenues. So the revenue for the seawater system revenue, this is actually tied to the cost of actually delivering the seawater system. We refer to this as income or revenue. It's actually the pass-through of the cost that it takes to operate the seawater system. And so it's not considered, we don't add like 20% revenue or 7% return on investment and things, the other numbers that are normally involved in an operation of for-profit. So whatever occurs on the cost side, expense side, will determine our revenue. Now with the host part, land and lease rent, those are the other major source of revenue. And this is true revenue where we take our land and building assets and we actually will lease them, along with the research campus, the office space, the covered, uncovered space that we have within our offerings of partnering with NELHA as a tenant. There's different rates, different per square foot, per acre. There's some permitting, minimum land size that are tied to our permitted land use and things along those lines. But the host part, the research campus office conference, those are actually lease and rent income. These line items are subject to the 20% OHA. So off the bat, right off the top, also OHA gets 20% and DBID gets 5%, right? Yeah, DBID gets 5%. So 25% of our lease revenue goes out the door, and we, that's part of us existing and part of the 50-year investment of assets and all of that, and the land use. So, and the host part, royalty is for the use of the host part branding. And there's just a couple of clients that use that coil. And
basically deep sea water and any other extractive like salt or nigari, that would also be subject
to that, yeah. And then labor services are primarily tied to our lab work, our lab technician that can contract out for water sampling. We do statewide water test results for the Department of Health have in the past. And hopefully will continue. They seem to pull back a little bit, but we are capable of providing that service. And then with electrical reimbursements, freshwater reimbursements, these are all very similar pass-throughs. Where whatever we get charged, we share the costs and distribute it among our tenants. In federal, county, special projects, these are grants or potential grants, the interest income and other miscellaneous type income, some grant related, some other types of arrangements in which we can receive revenue. So are there any questions on the revenue side?
So Riley, can you just kind of walk us through the assumptions or why the projected revenue in fiscal year 26 is, fairly higher for research campus, covered and uncovered space, as well as the research campus office and conference room rental? Is it just because you anticipate more use, or is there something that we've negotiated to have more usage in those areas?
Well, we also have, contributing in part to that is that there's, and this is very smart of NELHA, we renew each contract for the new fiscal year from July to June. So that process gets initiated in April, May, so that we don't have 55 contracts spread over a year. 55 contracts renewing, starting the process in April, May. And within the contracts, we have an inflation adjustment that's allowed. And this year it was 4%. So, we do it on an independent, assessment of inflation factors for Hawaii. So that gets accepted by the tenants and the rate gets adjusted. So that has a large impact on that piece.
Thank you.
But so Riley, that 384 number is largely reflecting Captura, though, the addition of them coming into the research campus, since they weren't fully here in 2025. Was that the question, Director Lynn?
Well, just in general, I was just curious on what the increase was.
Okay.
But if that is partially what it
That
is.
would be part of it, but we've also, on the other hand, have had others reduce their office lease. It's so right now we have like 5 spaces open in this building. And so but we expect to have them leased. And so there's a lot of moving parts under these simple numbers.
Yeah.
And so we look at the potential special fund impact as like the starting point, knowing that the special fund balance is essential for NELHA's ongoing concern. Okay, I'll move on to the expenditures. And again, this is we'll start with personnel. So our NELHA staff are primarily in this line item. There's more allocations along the way or breakdowns. If you see from the seawater system, so these are the expenses that are associated with what we would then pass through to the tenants. So main, items are the electricity, fresh water, and personnel. The personnel and is actually based on, and NELHA did a really good job of accounting for this. Because all our staff, they're like lawyers. They track all their hours for what project, where they work, when, and on what day of the week for each individual, for each pay period. And it is done on the payroll system. And we extract that. And so what you'll see in our actuals are actual hours spent by personnel. So if there's repeated failures or repairs and emergencies, according to seawater system, for the seawater system, this number will go up. Along with, the electricity is a pass-through, and we have increases in there. It seems to be trending upwards. You can see we've added more funds toward the R&M side to get more, I guess, equipment parts on the shelf and available for emergency repairs.
Oh, right, question. So how come almost a 20% decrease or 20-something% decrease in personnel costs in 25-26?
I believe it's, from what I can see, we've been short-staffed as far as the amount of bodies that we have available in operation.
So you're expecting to be more short-staffed in 2026?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Actually, I have to look at it, but I believe that what we did was look at the amount of time needed to do the repairs. We've done a lot this year as far as the work in, with the flushing, with repairs of valves, repairs of motors. We have motors on the shelf now, and it should result in less personnel.
Less personnel hours for the project.
Directed to the seawater system itself.
Okay, so that's just what you're anticipating, not the actual.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
Riley, could we come back to revenue, please? I'm still pondering what Director Sal had asked, the question there about research campus office conference rental. There's an increase from 245,000 to 384,000, about a 55% increase. Where is that anticipated? Is that more office space coming online, or is that sticking it to the tenants more?
A little bit of both.
Additional office conference.
Does Captura fall in that? Around?
Capture will be uncovered space.
It would be uncovered, right? Yeah, I'd have to look at that.
It's a pleasing jump if that's real. If it's what's really going to happen, that'd be great. I'm just puzzled.
And it's actually like we have the side by side. It's the annual budget for FY25.
Mm-hmm.
And
Are there new tenants coming into the open space down behind? Is that
office space?
That's only office space.
Conference.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So Riley, could I ask that FY25 column is headed annual budget?
right, yeah. So the actual
Shouldn't it be revenue? And you should know what you actually got. So was that the budget at the start of 25, and now we're looking at the budget at the start of 26 without looking at how it actually landed?
correct. That's what I'm going back to. Yeah.
Okay. So those 25 numbers were kind of a year old based on what's already happened. Yeah.
A year ago. So with the research campus actual, I'm almost there. This is the number, the 369.
Okay.
Yeah, so you had a budget of 245, but you actually got 369
Right.
over the
Okay.
course of
It
25.
is just a 4% increase then. Okay.
Yeah, so that kind of explains.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The projection was based on the actual,
Okay,
but budget 2026 was based on actual 2025. And this sheet that I have here is comparing the budget 2025. The budget. So this is the revenue. So we're okay?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Director Hilton.
Riley,
So
I
you-
also wanted to ask about the THP settlement figure that you had for 25 and 26. Do you still expect THP expenses in this fiscal year? Because that should have been wrapped up last year, at least to my understanding and how it happened in our department. You have
Yeah,
100,000 in a budget
Yeah.
for
There
THP.
is.
Do you know of some liability there for more THP settlement this fiscal year?
And yes, there is. We've been notified.
Okay,
And it's for UPW.
okay, got it.
And like I said, we're on cash basis, so like we get the notification. And I'm not sure what the payment timeline is.
Understood.
Wait, let me go back. Okay, so bottom of this sheet. And I can't get to presentation mode. Okay, there. So is that too small?
For me, a little bit, but if you call out the numbers, I can
Yeah, so the
see what you're talking about.
electricity is here, let me just stop scrolling. So tenant utilities, the reimbursable, like I said, that was passed through. NELHA utilities is what NELHA absorbs for electricity and fresh water. And the host park grounds and maintenance is for what occurs by assignment, by personnel actually working on maintenance for the host park and grounds and security. So this is where since we encumbered the security, the last line, the annual budget in 2025 was $300,000. The annual budget has it as 19,000 when the encumbrance is sitting in the encumbrance line. That's where the obligation to pay is. So we didn't have it on the annual budget line. It only shows 19,000.
Is
And
that
host
because
park-
that contract runs from like May 31st or something with only a small fraction of
Right, yeah.
the
it's right
fiscal
at-
year?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
it's one of my first lessons as far as applying cash principles to your financials. So here, the other next tranche is host park environmental monitoring. This is our lab technician. Then a beach park maintenance. So NELHA, we have about 3 miles of shoreline with the ocean. And I think it's pretty an ignored or not recognized responsibility of shoreline management, including all the types of warm-blooded animals that can take up the space, goats, dogs, other two-legged ones and things like that. And so we manage camping, we manage no camping. We manage overnight fishing, but you can't sleep in your car. And things along those lines. Closing down the park at 8 p.m. at night and opening it up at 6 a.m. while coordinating with 55 tenants on when their employees need to be on property outside of those, within the 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. So that type of, I look at it beach park maintenance because that's the open space, but this includes working on 3 miles of managing public property. So, and then the administrative expense, mainly in personnel.
Riley, Dave, quick question on that. Administrative expenses, insurance premium. You expect that to be lower this year?
Yes, we actually looked at that number. I think it's down by like 30,000.
Yep.
I think we bubbled, at like the 200,000. Hopefully no other global disasters or occur. So we have seen a downward trend in that.
Okay, thank you.
Just a general question about the lab. Is Pam's lab work certified by Department of Health or can be used for certified Department of Health work?
Yes.
Okay.
They are one of our key clients.
Right. I asked the question because I had a question to the Department of Health lead, Amanda Lowry on Oahu about scheduling water testing. And she said scheduling testing here at NELHA would take anywhere from 6 months to a year because she had to find a driver to get a sample over to Hilo. And I thought that was incorrect.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
There's packages delivered here all the time.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. We do out of that office, that lab, about 4,000 tests, water quality a year. And it includes all the, with the larvae concern, all the discharge and all of the advanced testing that we advanced in search of resolving that. Okay, moving on. So here is, the back end of the administrative costs. The OHA land assessment, our quarterly payments, the central admin quarterly payments, and miscellaneous expenses.
Riley, Dave again, the OAHA seated land assessments. I'll bite at that one. Why is it gone from 440 to 507?
It would be tied directly to our revenue.
Oh, so we're on a percentage basis on
Yes,
that? Oh, okay.
It's 20%. So as we had the lease go up, their payments go up.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I did catch that earlier. Appreciate that.
Okay. And keep in mind, a key thing I said with the seawater, electricity and fresh water, the pass-through, those are not considered revenue and therefore not eligible for the OHA percent.
If I could, one more question, back up a little bit on marketing and promotional services. Do we have any media support or marketing that for NELHA? I'm assuming no, because it's not on the annual budget for either 25 or 26, if I'm reading that correctly.
We don't have contracted services for marketing.
Not next year. It's kind of folded into the admin expenses typically. So we do have one marketing person, but she also does leasing work, and so it's all folded under the same.
Okay, so
Right.
no dedicated media support then, or contract.
Right, we don't have a public information officer.
Or nor we contract anybody to do support, outreach, community development, community info.
Correct.
Okay.
So do that in-house with our leasing agent. I believe that those were in the past, maybe 5-6 years ago, two separate roles. And they were merged, and so one person filled that one position.
Okay.
So are there any other questions?
Riley, this is Gordon. I don't have any other questions, but I do want to commend you. Again, I'm looking at it as a profit and loss statement. You're gonna have based on your budget, you're gonna have about a $500,000 increase in profit over your loss of last year.
Correct.
Good job.
And a lot of that has to do with timing, at the end of the year and things like that, but like I said, as things happen on a daily basis here at NELHA, the first thought is the special fund impact. And usually that's a quick, analysis, like what if a tenant goes away, what is the special fund impact on that tenant disappearing, regardless of size? We can back calculate real quickly and understand what the cash impact is on our cash P&L.
What level of occupancy does this assume?
It assumes level occupancy currently. And in part, that is due to the restriction of water rights.
What are we
So-
at now?
Occupancy of lease space in the building.
Or just available square, both office and available square footage?
Which is,
We have about 200 acres that's unoccupied. Most of it is ungraded raw lava. That's out of our total of 870 acres for the park. As far as the campus, I'd say we're probably about 80% full on the outside. And then on the building, we were at 100% occupancy, but as of July, we've got 5 offices out of the 17 that are available. One just got leased, or some people moved into one, and we have interest for at least 2 offices. So those usually go fast. I would expect that to be close to 100% by the end of the year. That's been our experience, is that the offices are the easiest to lease out.
The 200 that you mentioned earlier, is that leasable?
It's leasable, but it requires projects and clients that have enough capital to be able to afford the grading, because it is raw land. It also presupposes that we have enough fresh water for that project. So fresh water is our limiting factor for any kind of expansion at this point. So nothing significant can be reflected on these budget numbers because of that. So it's status quo pretty much, but with
Right.
CPI increase and maybe a couple more spaces occupied.
So our 80% at occupancy of the campus is limited by the water infrastructure.
No, not in the campus. That's both campuses would be.
Campuses, okay.
But off campus in the
The-
technical park. So the larger projects that lease by acre rather than by.
Okay. One thing that if we are looking at changing the way we do reporting, or not changing or adding, but just FYI, is what we normally see when you do have rented space, what normally the management companies produce is something called a rent roll that identifies every parcel that is rentable, right? So you get a little bit more granularity on your occupancy, and you know so other things you'd see on the rent roll is how much your square footage rent is, how much your I don't know, do you guys do CAM? How much CAM is, percent rent and all that, and you see it on every open parcel. I'm gonna assume that the budget is status quo based on current occupancy, and we haven't seen significant swings in occupancy over the last few years. So also assuming that it's a pretty safe assumption, but going forward, that would be something that I think would be helpful for the board to have.
So we don't have specific parcels, maybe to refresh the board's memory. Unlike a sort of a regular subdivision where lots are pre-designed and pre-allocated, we have this rubber band method in that we were allocated the capability of, call it 30, the number's probably wrong, but a certain amount of lots on the assumption that they would be, say, 10 acres each. We're at that level, so we need to develop new lots. In order to develop those new lots, we need to sort out our freshwater system. So the rent roll would look like 200 acres. Basically, that is the lot that remains, is a 200 acre lot. Is that, hopefully that makes some sense.
I think Vice Chair is asking if you can do a rent roll for existing properties. So all the leases that you have, all the improved properties that you have currently, what their occupancy, how much square footage that they occupy, and what you charge them in terms of maintenance and all that. And then from there, we can see what's remaining. And as a potential growth and potential leasing of other properties. Is that correct, Vice Chair?
Correct. What you normally see too is the remaining term of leases, right?
Yeah.
We can certainly provide that.
Do you have I'm gonna assume you guys have a leasing broker for some of your office spaces, right?
Is that Laurence?
No.
So Laurence
No, we do not. We also manage our property. And we don't have CAM charges either. There are no CAM charges.
No worries. I was just wondering if there was a readily available example that sometimes it's easier when you see it like an illustrative purpose, right? Or example. But normally what it is it's just a rent roll that it identifies every parcel that is leasable and who's the tenant, what the lease rent is, how big the parcel is, lease expiration. So it tells you about like your leasable space. Future enhancement, if possible. I think it also helps the board when new lease tenants come on board too, to know where they are in the overall universe of tenants, right?
In the future as well, it would be super helpful. I know we had the FY25 report right there, but if we could have a column that had the FY25 budget, the FY25 actuals, and then the FY26 budget, it would help us to just go straight across to see what the actual, what the projection was, what the actual was, and then what we're looking at for 26. That's just a suggestion. I might be the only one that looks at it that way, but that's how I previously had seen and reported things.
Chair, I was thinking the same thing based on my own prior experience putting these things together. good to have that extra column.
And great job, Riley. Just that it just is, it just makes a more accurate picture going across to really kind of understand what the projected increases or decreases look like and why they're there.
No, I totally agree. I had the same thought. Like, where's my 2025 actuals? And
What's also going on with personnel and the open, I guess, or just the vacancies?
what was the question?
What's going on with the whole personnel budgeted item with vacancies, in regards to vacancies?
So we have 2 vacancies right now. One, but we hired.
Oh, two now, actually. We're in the process of hiring for one.
Yeah, we're in the process of hiring one. We have 2 openings. One is for an electrician, a licensed electrician, which is very, very hard to find. And we're finding that chances of finding one at this point would be very slim, given the requirements to become a licensed electrician, a journeyman, and to bring that on board. The other is an actual supervisory position for the operations. So when I say operation, it includes maintaining the grounds, the pumps, the beach, cleaning the toilet of the beach, cleaning up the trash on the roadside next to the highway, cutting all the grass that's hiding the fire hydrants. So that crew is 6 people, 6 head count that actually perform all of those things for 3 miles of shoreline, along with the seawater pumps. So we have 2 openings in that. And with the existing staff, there's been, we've had several emergencies and with line breaks, pipe breaks, things like that, and they react to all of that. So, but as far as when I say 6, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have 6 people here every day because of vacation time, sick time. And so we actually have 4 that we're working on because we have the 2 openings and working through that. So that's like a 33% reduction in staff from 6 to 4.
How are you feeling about staffing levels and the budget for personnel?
Well, one need that I believe has not been met by NELHA is the stewardship of our cultural responsibilities for our land. And so within the preliminary budget evaluation, I've submitted a request for a cultural practitioner so that we can incorporate practices of stewardship for a historic archaeological preserve that's 1,500 feet from me that has not been, I believe, in my opinion, cared for properly. These are grave sites that are overrun with weeds and kiawe trees. They have alkaline ponds that it's opaiola, and they're being covered with dead leaves and things like that, where it should be a source of life. And so we need to malama and take care of those things with a lot more respect and intentionality. The Wawaloli Beach Park, there's a whole story and understanding of why those ponds in relation to the beach park exist. And we, with the Alakahakai Trail, which is the north and south footpath, which was used by our host culture for transportation of people, products, and services, and that was the highway. As it crosses our property, we have no special consideration that is crossing our property. And so those types of things, in that sense, the malama, the maintenance on a cultural, historic basis is lacking. And I'd like to advance that to incorporate it as a thread of knowledge and awareness of the place and space that NELHA represents. We represent new ocean science technology related to sustainable living, which would reduce the importation of fossil fuels, importation of the way we live, importation of things that we need in order to live the way we live. And NELHA has that opportunity in energy, in food production, in education for our youth, in that they can have a place and space to be immersed in ocean science, in renewable technology of energy, as our host culture existed 200 years ago. We have that opportunity, but unless we intentionally approach this with a program to advance that awareness, we will not, necessarily get there. And so that's one side as far as resources, which I believe we need to advance. We can maintain pumps, but we need to also maintain the life source of water and the plants and animals that exist.
If that position gets approved, how does that mechanically impact the budget?
It would be one headcount addition for, I think the calculation was like $90,000.
But it's not included right now, right? So if the position.
Correct, it's not included right now, it would be for the following year.
Okay.
It won't, it'll have to go through the legislative process, I believe. For the 26-27 budget. In the meantime, internally, within our staff, we are taking steps within ourselves and our tenants to advance the awareness of Malama.
So Riley, are you proposing that position for the 26 budget? And what open call, or to the families that currently like take care of that gravesite around the corner? They were just down there 2 days ago.
Under NELHA, and so
it would be an open position.
It would be an open position, and it would be in working together with the families, and it'll be very transparent and very inclusive.
But not a direct call to those families who currently take care of it. You're not, as NELHA, you wouldn't approach them and say like, hey, here's a position, we want you guys to do this, or
I've already had discussions with various members of the community and have discussed the practitioner being under NELHA, and that it would be a position that NELHA would administer. But I'd like this position also to bring the message and awareness of this place and space to all our tenants. So there would be an orientation, and even as a new tenant considers coming in the place and space, having them with an understanding of what they're stepping into and what our stewardship responsibilities are.
Is there room in the budget for additional positions?
Not just that one.
Okay. If we do end up having more budget, would we be open to looking for an energy specialist? Director, I realize this is your specialty, but I also realize that you have a lot of things on your plate at the same time, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed.
Just think about, potentially a new position, or maybe potentially, I don't know, half a position that maybe you can share with the energy office or something, right? But more resources on the energy side as well, just because it feels that it's been highlighted in the past few years.
Right, so what that person would be able to do is 5 days a week, at least. 8 hours a day, get the other state agencies on the same page in the same room to get the same job done. Because it's the collaboration and coordination among various government agencies that fail terribly in advancing any initiative, especially energy.
I don't think that would fly with a DAGS PD.
This is not. This is
I think you just called it like position impossible, right?
But we are working on that right now with collaboration with the county where I came from, and there's ongoing discussions to really resolve the freshwater needs. And I'm seeing it more and more viable through renewable energy sources that can be delivered via NELHA.
I think the key thing is just to keep the attention on that space, right? In terms of what you're looking at in terms of your personnel, and then just the ability to ensure that continued review of the energy part of the mission is an important priority, along with everything else that this team is doing very well.
So the vision, Sid, is that we take care of the water. We look at highest and best use of the open land. Look at the cost of what things are able to be stood up. We get calls every week of various people wanting to do various things for various reasons. That is every week. Okay. But if we can take care of that water issue by producing fresh water from renewable energy, looking at renewable zero emissions energy to provide mobility and things along those lines, then we can grow. Then we could project a growth in revenue base in lease and rent and things. Then we can follow that with because I talk crazy sometimes about vision, and Laurence goes, we only have 16 people. And that would follow the headcount and roles of management of the new revenue sources would then come into play. And so while not formalized in a request yet, those things are being considered on a regular ongoing basis, actually.
Okay, thank you. I want to keep us on track. So any other questions on the FY26 budget by any of our board members?
I do have one, Director. The proposed PIG and strategic planning, is that accounted for anywhere in the budget? Having that process?
Would be absorbed in our administration costs in the budget.
Okay, so that has been factored in then.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, with that, could we please have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 budget?
So moved. This is Director Lynn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second, Gordon.
Thank you, Director Bruce. Is there a discussion on the motion to approve? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, hearing no opposition, the motion is hereby approved. Okay, the last item we have, so thank you, Riley, thank you, Laurence, thank you to the NELHA team that's online. Great job. The next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's informal status report. Riley?
Well, I'll keep it really short. Just as update on our Wait, hold on, I'm getting up. Just an update on our larval root work and our flushing. We had our last meeting last week Thursday, and it appears that the current flushing has been working well with positive feedback from our tenants. Neil, Nate, you have anything to add?
I know that, speaking with all of our friends down here, that it's worked incredibly well for some. Unfortunately for me, I'm kind of on an unflushable part of the line, so I might be the exception to this beneficial process. But overall, yes, it has yielded some great results for most of our tenants.
And with the ice pigging, actually, I wasn't at the meeting, so again.
I was at a shellfish conference on the mainland, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
So with the ice pigging, because we're having good results, it was decided that that would be pushed to a little bit later, that we would continue the flushes as we have been doing them now, since that is, something works, don't mess with it, kind of.
Well, so selfishly, again, since I'm on an unflushable part of the line and I wasn't at that meeting, if we could ice pig my pipe in front of my fence, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about that, is as a test to doing that.
Sure.
That you're part
Yeah.
of. Keith will get to you if he hasn't already.
Thanks. Yeah, I just got back 2 days ago, so.
Yeah, well, ice pig you.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, so that, has, seems to be heading in the right direction. We still don't have a resolution, but it's, been working well. And, that's about all I have at this point. We've got, Big Island Abalone online, ownership transfer complete. And so they're firing up their initial steps of solving major leaks within their system and doing some maintenance work on their sump and things like that. So we look forward for Big Island Abalone to become a active and viable partner within the group. But that's all I really have for now.
Quick question. I think it was Director Molinaro mentioned the planning pig. Is that still open?
Yes, it is. For the master.
For the master plan?
Right. And so Tom Fee is on the call right now. We had a meeting almost all day virtually on starting a framework of the master plan, which once we get that framework, which would be soon, I think this week we're meeting again. And then we present a framework to the PIG for discussion at that level.
And then back to the board at the next meeting following the PIG meeting.
If there's.
It depends on the.
Yeah, it depends on if the PIG agrees, then all comes to a recommendation.
Riley, do you have any additional updates on the Ota well?
That is it's following up with the seaworm efforts to stand up the adaptive management plan. Actually, as we speak now, it might be an update is probably going on in the seaworm meeting, which is concurrent with ours. So that is, I was hoping they would have that done by today, so I would have an update. But today's meeting in Seaworm, I gotta go to the recording. If you're interested, probably look for the recording. They're gonna provide the skeleton to the adaptive management plan. Now, for those to catch up, everyone, the adaptive management plan by the Clean Water Resource Management or Commission on Clean Water, right? Commission on Clean Water Resource Management, and they would come up with a plan that would look at the water sources and uses within the Keauhou aquifer and what would need to be reviewed, what scope of factors would need to be evaluated, whether it's in the water, plant and animal life, and or salt content, various data points that would need to be evaluated and monitored in order to understand and ensure that pumping water from our aquifers is pono or correct. We're not damaging the ongoing concern of our aquifer and its outputs. And so that is what was going to be discussed today. Now, based on that, I don't have any type of update on well approvals. I know if we're successful in resolving the freshwater production from renewable energy at NELHA, it would highly mitigate our progress in advancing. You know, it would reduce the risk of us being able to advance in expanding our tenant base. It would bring us from being over our daily allocation of 400,000 gallons a day. We run anywhere from 600 to 700 gallons a day. And if we can self-produce 400,000 gallons per day on our own, we would be under our allocation by about 200,000 gallons a day and therefore able to expand our tenant footprint. So it's not depending on the Ota well, but definitely willing to work with Seaworm and the community on resolving the issues surrounding water in Kona.
Thank you for that, Riley. That's super comprehensive and very helpful. So thanks for all the work on that. That's some of the most positive action forward we've seen to date. So thank you.
At the next meeting, I believe the next meeting is October or November, right? Are you going to require any board approvals for any type of legislative actions? CAP request, new legislation,
Yeah. Well,
potentially.
It would be the CIP. But now, as you know, to inform the board, we are going to be, it's scheduled for a visit by some of the legislatures in early November. And so we're prepping for that, and we can probably report out on the results of those discussions. And it has to do with, you know, fiscal funding and CIP and taking care of ongoing concerns regarding pipes under the sea that could break loose.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair. I think that's super important as we look forward to the November meeting. I think we've been discussing legislative strategies for the last two sessions, and have always done it behind when it was when board action could be taken or while things were being studied. I think we're finally at the point, Riley, where some proactive actions can be considered. So if there are any proposals to the point where they would be ready for November, I think it'd be good to at least think about it and share.
Right, yeah.
I would also highly recommend getting in front of any type of foreseeable issues, right? Like, what are you doing for energy? I feel like that seems to have been a topic, and it feels like we're doing a lot of really cool things that just might have to be socialized, right? And we might have to highlight it for people.
Understood.
Chair, I've got a question or comment
Go ahead.
to pass on. So the State Procurement Office solicited some input from all the state agencies about a priceless vendorless contract for debris removal and monitoring services. Here at the DOT, we posed the question whether or not that priceless contract might involve floating debris, such as might occur in a harbor after a tsunami. The answer was yes, and more broadly than that, this priceless contract might provide, you know, non-emergency sort of broader services that could involve floating debris. And it basically made me think of a busted loose pipe off Holy Point that you may have a contract vehicle you could explore, as opposed to going through the emergency procurement route that you typically have done in the past. So something to look at, I guess. I've got some more information on it I can pass on. But SPO was looking for input from Hawaii agencies to join what's already a multi-state contract covering this category of services. Did you guys get that passed down through channels from DBED? Did it make it down to NELHA that was being queried about?
I don't recall that.
Okay,
Well, how long ago was that?
within the last month.
Okay. Well, our debris doesn't float until it breaks loose from the.
Yeah, but once it's debris, it's debris, you know. And you know, this is, I mean, our concern over here was mostly about, you know, natural disasters that create emergencies that suddenly you have an issue to deal with. And, you know, but it was also said that it doesn't have to be a natural disaster caused incident that creates debris that needs to be dealt with. So it's just something that, you know, it kind of crossed my mind, hey, this might be useful to NELHA in some respect. So might be worth looking into.
Can you send that to me?
Yeah, I'll send you, I got a little email thread on it that I'll forward your way.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Director Hilton. That's super helpful. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Riley, is there anything else in your report? Are we ready to wrap it up?
You can wrap it up.
Okay. Last chance, any directors, any last questions? Okay. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Let's call the meeting adjourned at 2:23 p.m. Thank you, everyone. The next meeting will be November 18 at 1 p.m.
Aloha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye.